Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining Andre Renee's Creative Cafe. We are a show that focuses on the arts and the artist's God-given talent. We strongly believe that you are your passion. Today we have a powerful show, kind of one of my favorite type of shows. Our show today is very biblical. It's about poetry, and you guys know that if you didn't know, poetry is in the Bible, in 5 different books. And we have a phenomenal poet. You read his bio. If you don't know who he is, you will know who he is today. Michael Williams, a.k.a. Just Mike the Poet. Give a shout out, bro.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Just Mike the Poet here. I'm glad to be here, Andre. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, we happy to have you, man. We happy. And he just promised to be at our birthday / marketing celebration.
Most definitely.
So hopefully he'll warm the mic up.
Yeah.
Oh, so y'all heard it? So I got him on tape.
I'm there.
He's there. So y'all stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that soon. And so, first of all, we want to offer our condolences. I know we way late. The reason why you got into poetry is because you lost your sister. So I lost a brother. Wow. And so he wasn't biological, but to me, family is love, not blood.
Most definitely.
And so I know how that feels. So let me offer my condolences to you.
I appreciate that.
And so, what age was this?
I was 20 and she was 19 at the time. So in the year of 1999, she passed away from a sudden cause of diabetes.
Okay.
Took everybody by storm. Like, it was very unexpected.
Right.
So
and in our community, diabetes run rampant. You know, every time we get the blood test, now I'm 25 plus, and so every time I know, right?
Okay.
And so every time I do my blood test, they throw in that diabetes things, like just to make sure the high blood pressure and diabetes. So we have to be aware of our status when it comes to diabetes. So that happened. You jumped into poetry. Walk us through what happened.
It was like maybe, I would say 3 months after a funeral. It was in March. So I would say in the springtime of maybe end of July, beginning of July, I ended up writing a letter, to my sister. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't just wake up and say, I'm going to write a poem today. I started to write her a letter, and it just turned into poetry.
Right.
And from there, I've written over hundreds of different songs and poems and things like that. So, God has really, blessed me to be creative, through her death and her passing.
Indeed. So as the more successful you are, is that like a tribute to your sister and her not being here?
Most definitely. I go hard for her. I go hard. Like, man, I go for the kingdom too. But
Amen.
My sister, I know how this started. I'll never forget that.
Indeed. And even everybody knows that this is a Christian radio show. First of all, they wouldn't be tuning in because this is what they go for. And so to have a fellow Christian poet on the show, it does my heart good. I really appreciate that. I hope you enjoy my CD. Not to plug myself because it's all about you.
Okay,
but when you run through that, shoot me a text and give me all A+, even if I got a C.
Okay.
So when you had your first live set, so you're 20 years old, you're writing down all this wonderful stuff that God has given you. Because that poetry, it ignites something in you. It's a spark. It's like the spark plug to an engine.
Yeah.
So when you got your engines revving, and you hit that first live performance, how old and where were you?
Actually, I started performing live. It was later. It was maybe 6 years ago.
Okay.
At an inspirational poetry set. I was introduced by this young lady named Articulate. I was featured there, and we met at a spoken word competition on the north side. So it was amazing. My first feature, I had already been making a CD together titled My Poetry.
Right.
And I performed that live there, and I ended up selling like maybe 10 to 15 copies, and the line was so long, like people couldn't even get to me to get a copy of the CD. And then, and I was like, man, this is it. This is where, this is what I need to be doing. This spoken word on the stage.
So you're feeling that.
Most definitely.
Right.
Yes.
Now we have to give a huge shout out to our friend, Jada Moore.
Most definitely.
Because that's how you got here. She also rocks with a sister station on 106.3. So we all want to say thank you for connecting us together. She also will be a featured poet for that celebration.
She's really awesome.
Oh yeah, she's indeed. So when she says, "Hey, I got a buddy for you," I knew you was going to be fine.
Wow.
Yeah, indeed. So we're happy to have you here. Do you do before every message or sermon? I used to do, because I pastored for 2 years. I had a poem, I know, right? So what I did was, I had a poem before each sermon. And so it was different. So the old school preachers used to look back like, what do you think he's doing? I got the mic though, right?
Okay,
So here we go. So I'm doing what this is. So to me, it's biblical. I mean, that's what poetry is. It's just biblical. It's another way to spread and share the good news, the gospel. So that's how I get down. Do you do spoken words in church?
I have. I started out, first of all, my own church, doing open mics at my own church. You know, I tried all the little night things you do at night and stuff like that. And I remember my pastor telling me, LaToya Elston, she said,
Shout
why
out
don't
to
you...
LaToya.
Most definitely.
Pastor Elston.
Pastor Elston, right here in Hammond, Indiana.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And she had told me, why don't you start, you know, out here first and, you know, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And then I started, you know, with the church and hosting open mic. And man, it was a blessing. It's a blessing from being obedient and doing that.
Right.
You know, so most definitely.
When you follow the path of God, peace and prosperity should always come with you. So we thank your pastor for putting you on that path. We're going to stop for some commercial breaks. And these commercial breaks are sponsored by St. Augustine Church, located right there in Gary, Indiana. We'll be right back. And we are back with Just Mike the Poet. We're going with his stage name, Just Mike the Poet, Mr. Michael Williams. And we were talking about you performing at different churches. Now, what was your first large venue? The one you was like, I can't believe this many people just showed up.
My first large one, I would say actually it was for, you talking about within the church or just period?
The first large venue.
The first large venue.
And that could be a church, because some of these churches are 2,000-3,000 people, so that's pretty large right there.
Actually, it wasn't a church. It was a conference that was downtown. It was a business conference.
Okay.
Actually, at a big hotel, and it was different nationalities and everything that was there. And I can't remember how many. That might even be the largest. Right. But it had to be like maybe 400 or 500. I know I've actually performed outside where it was more people than that, but I can definitely recall that and bring my remembrance, because I was a little bit nervous. I was like, man, what poem should I do? You know, everybody wasn't, you know, African American, you know, so I really had to be selective. So, yeah.
I find when you do what God has you to do, when you're in your talent, it's not about race, creed, or color.
Right.
It's about your passion.
Yeah.
So I believe, and that's what this show is all about. So it doesn't matter who's in the audience. I'm going to do what I got to do.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm called to do. So when you let your light, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. There you go. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter how they perceive it. This is what you have. And when you deliver it, someone will be touched by it. Amen. And so who put that together? Because when I called you the other day, I got your peoples. She was like, you know, he'll get back with you. I was like, oh, he's important. He got people. So I'm going to need to make some. I want to get on the phone. My voicemail, disguise my voice. Like, I got people, right? Okay. Whatever. So I know you kind of blowing up right now, or you are already there. So did you have a company that's working for you, or are you grinding yourself?
Pretty much grinding, you know, myself. I stay promoting, like yourself, you know, with my business card, my flyers, any event that I go to, you know, I let people know who I am. I stay busy. I stay active in the communities. Right. And, you know, everything is kind of myself and the good people around me, you know, that push me, you know, to go forward and may share something of mine. Indeed. So, and just to help, you know, people that have a heart, you know, for the people and for artistry. And I want to say congratulations. I love people that volunteer. Because there's no monetary value that you can put on a person who volunteers. And when I was reading your bio and researching you do volunteer in the community. Yes. You are from Chicago, and so we know what goes on there. So for you to have a heart and a passion for our people, and to go out and volunteer, big ups to you, brother. May God bless you. I appreciate that. And elevate you. Yes. And so the parable. One guy got one parable. The parable of the talents, y'all forgive me, tongue-tied. The parable of the talents, one guy got one, another one was two, another one was five. We know you have at least two, because not only are you a spoken word artist, but you are a published author. Yes. Let's talk about your books. My book, I've written one book. The other one was an anthology. It was a collective of poets. Right. But my one book I've written is titled Poetic Scriptures, The Life, Growth, and Journey of Mike W. Williams. And it was, once again, this is inspired, by the passing, of my sister.
Right.
Through that I dedicated, this book and this project to her. So it's pretty much, about my life, my journey that I took, a lot of things that I've been through, I've overcame, and just talking about life, period, using scriptures, biblical scriptures, throughout the Bible.
Right.
Where, I could just break this down like, that was actually the hardest part in my book. It wasn't me writing. It was like finding the scripture to go with, the testimony,
Right.
the part that I've been through in my life. So,
Right.
Poetic Scriptures, The Life, Growth, and Journey of Michael E. Williams, which is on Amazon. Yes.
Are you self-published?
I'm self-published.
Yes. You know a publisher, right?
I see that.
Right,
yeah,
right.
I was thinking about that earlier.
Just FYI, your next book, you need to call Andre Renee Wright's publishing company.
I'm working on one now.
Yeah. So we definitely have your back on that. I have a poetry book that's coming out. I have another poetry CD that's coming out. I can't wait to get out there. I cannot wait to get out and start spitting myself.
Wow.
Because I really don't. I like to write, but I haven't performed because it's all these things that's going on. My radio show is my new passion.
Yeah.
I love it. My books, that's my ministry.
Yeah,
all of my books. I love it so much to put a smile on a kid's face. If you go to my Facebook page, a lady came with just pocket change, and I took it. It's like pick whatever book you want, and so. I love to give back in that way. The books itself give back. So, but I want to do what you're doing because you have been nominated for some awards. You have won some awards.
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
Most definitely. First year I was nominated was almost 3 years ago. I was nominated for the at the time it was the Religious Poet of the Year.
Okay.
And I was kind of skeptical about the name. Why would they call it religious?
Right.
And this and that. And I felt that I would win, but also I felt okay, nominated the first time, might not.
Right.
So when I didn't win, it was a little disappointment or this or that. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go hard. I'm keep doing what I'm doing. For the kingdom and the glory of God. And next year they changed it to the Spiritual Poet of the Year.
Okay.
So with that being nominated for that, I end up winning the Spiritual
Poet
of the Year, which I really wanted anyway. And
Right.
also the Spoken Word Artist of the Year as well too. So I end up winning that all in the same year.
Okay.
And now I'm nominated this year for the best spoken word CD album, Save Our Children, Save Our Streets, and also the Spiritual Poet of the Year again. So I'm nominated for those 2 awards this year.
Save Our Children, Save Our Streets. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So much there, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a part of me, a part of my passion, for the youth. And the community and things that's happening out here, and
so much.
I want to stress it. Other people, do it through activism, marching or this or that, and holding meetings. I just want to spread, positivity, spread encouragement. Through my poetry, through my CD and through my album, to the world. There's so many communities even outside of Chicago. So that's what the project is all about. Saving our children, saving our streets, and the streets that's everybody.
Right. Right. So it's not just Chicago; it's every urban street, every non-urban street.
Yes, most definitely.
Right.
Yes. So you could also find that album on iTunes and Apple Music, Spotify, all
your streaming sites.
Yeah, all the streaming sites as well too. Save Our Children, Save Our Streets.
Now, who helped you with that album? Who helped you put that together?
This brother named Peter Scott. He's I don't know if you're familiar with him. I think he hosted up here before, but he's a Christian brother, has a book written, albums out as well too. Peter Scott helped me with a lot of production. Also, Michael and Doreen Stevens, they're both ministers as well too. They helped me with a lot of the production, and I have a lot of different features that's actually on the album.
Okay.
So I'm just very grateful to people that God sent my way during making that project.
The wonderful thing, ladies and gentlemen, you can't be here but to see his dispensation, and you hear his words. Every other word is God, and so when you put God first, how can you fail? So we love the fact that God is your all in all. And so that was one of the reasons why we just couldn't wait to have you on the show this time and in the future as well. We want you to keep promoting that light. And again, poetry is one of my favorites. I probably will have more poets on my show than anything else because I just love it. I love to write it. And for me, it's inspiration. I can walk down the street. I can be in the exercise room. Obviously, I don't go there too often. And so let's do what I do a lot. I could be at the donut shop and getting my favorite triple chocolate something, and then there it is. It hits me. And I bring out my iPhone, because these phones are computers.
Yeah.
And so I lay it out, outline it, go home, wait for that second bit of inspiration, and then bam, there's my poem. I never just sit down and say, I want to write a poem.
Right.
It knocks on my door.
Yeah.
And so, and that was my question. How does your material come to you?
Man, almost similar to what you just said, but it's all kind of ways. It could be from just us here talking and having a conversation. You know, something can come up, or I would say most of the time it's through going through different trials and overcoming different tests in my life.
Right.
And you know, even today, just sitting there talking, I can look back and think it's a lot of poems that I haven't even written. You know, I haven't gotten into them, but I don't force myself. I don't go home and be like, I'm gonna write today. Because I have enough poems. I ain't gonna say enough, but I have a lot of material already. Yes, hundreds. And I'm still trying to memorize stuff.
Can I copy a few of those?
Yeah.
But they said, loan me 20. Now, loan me 20 poems. You're right.
But yeah, God works in mysterious ways with my artistry. So it could be from many different things. Yes.
After these commercial breaks, we'll have more with Mike, a.k.a. The Poet. And this commercial break is brought to you by Finish Line Auto, located in Hammond, Indiana. Thank you for joining us. And we are here with Just Mike, the Poet. And we want to ask this wonderful poet, this wonderful man of God, who were your major influences?
Wow, there's so many major influences.
I know, right? And just imagine when you leave somebody out, they're going to be the first one to call you after the show.
I know, right?
Pressure's on, ladies and gentlemen.
I would have to go with my son first.
Okay.
Elijah.
He's 15, right?
He'll be 15 next month.
Right.
Going and entering the high school. And I would say he's definitely number one.
Okay.
You know, for me, I go hard for him. Now this next person, he's not a Christian artist, but he's a poet, and he cannot call me. I wish he could, but Tupac Shakur. You know, I grew up, you know, listening, you know, to Tupac and follow his life and the things that he went through, you know, as a young man. And I would say Tupac is up there definitely. And number 3, one of my biggest influence, I would have to say, again, my pastor, Pastor LaToya Elston.
LaToya Elston, P.O. Box 2246, Hammond, Indiana. Please send your contribution and sponsorship to our show, because we are blasting your name today.
Most definitely, yeah. But you know, during the time in my life, you know, her messages and the things that God gave her, you know, behind that podium, it just really touched me and transcended, you know, my life as a man, as a father, and as a poet. And it's been instilled in me even on today.
I love that. So, your pastor's doing a great job. I love that.
Most definitely, thank you.
I've done that job. I don't envy that job. It's a very difficult job. And to hear a fully grown man to say my pastor has been a major positive influence, it's a wonderful thing in these days and times. So we appreciate that. So maybe she don't have to send us any money. We'll let her slide with that. She's producing a wonderful product through God, no doubt, because she's the vessel. God is the instructor. She's just following the instruction. So we thank God for her and all the other pastors that's out there.
Most definitely.
And so my influences, it's difficult to say poetically, but I'm a huge Common fan. Our era, who could not say Tupac? I mean, we're not going to bring a secular musician into this arena right now, but we know he was so much more than what he was, and especially a troubled soul. And we just wish to God that there was a different path and direction. And if I have anything to say about that particular artist, I wish he could have been in his ministry before. No one has that type of power and not been called by God. And so, we have the power, but it's what we do with the power. We have the gift, it's what we do with the gift. And so people want to know how these people excel in doing things that's ungodly. Well, the gift comes from God, but you use it in a different way. And so how great and beautiful would he would have been if he would have used his power for God's will.
Most definitely.
And so we need to seek and promote God's will. What advice? Now, there's a child right now, like his son. Surely your son. There's a child, your church is listening, you have some children listening. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them upon falling in their dream? How would you tell them to
go do what they want to do with their dreams? Do you tell them go to school? Do you tell them follow your passion? What advice would you give?
I would say that anything that you have, we mentioned it before, putting God first, seeking first, the kingdom of God,
Right.
And His righteousness, and then too, I would say loving yourself.
Indeed.
A lot of people, how you have gifts and talents, but you don't have enough confidence, to even have love for yourself and your art, and just have a love for the passion that you do. Whether you get paid a dime, love what you do.
Amen.
So I would definitely say that, to have love, for yourself and for your artistry.
We want to emphasize that point. Love yourself. Go after your dreams. Love yourself. Believe in yourself.
Yes.
You have to. I love that. I like Will Smith says, I don't try to build a wall, but I put one brick perfectly down at a time, and eventually you have a wall.
Yes.
And so you got to have that confidence in loving yourself, because a lot of people who don't perform are shy, are introverted. Like, I don't, a stage fright, Put the microphone on, it's like, I want to go home. But when you love yourself, if you have confidence in yourself, what is your blueprint for success?
Blueprint for success. I would say hard work, dedication, being consistent in the things that you do, and also taking time to rest. Taking time to rest and feeding, what I'm saying, not just your spiritual inside, but your body, your health and things like that. So I'm trying to get more conscious and more aware, even of my health, because we have to be here, around to be successful.
So wear yourself out.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yes.
We have a segment of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, that was good. Remember to take rest. I should listen to that advice. I will next week. We have a very important part of the show. It's called What Would Jesus Do? And because we know poetry is spiritual, we know poetry is in the Bible, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus, if he was here today, will he actually rock the mic? Now, don't take that the wrong way, people. Would Jesus actually be not only for poetry, but would he have his own poems? What do you think? Spotlight time. Huh? Peace?
Spit of peace?
No. What would Jesus do if he was here? Would Jesus actually rock the mic?
I believe that he would.
Right. When he have his own poetry. He that when his soul is wise, the Bible teaches us.
Most
and
definitely.
So if you have a segment of people that love poetry, why wouldn't he? So go to my Facebook page, answer that question. Would Jesus actually, if he was here, have poetry? Will he recite poetry? We call it spitting. And do you have something on deck?
I do.
There you go. The mic is yours.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, at times I feel fearful. Don't know where I'm going to take my last breath. Don't be afraid. It's easy to say. Watching the Channel 5 news, you see a little girl, she got raped today. Some cold-hearted youngsters. They just did a drive-by with no conscience, not caring who gets hit and die. Love was left with guilt and tears, asking why. In the wrong place, at the wrong time. Now it's hard to face reality, wishing everything could rewind. See, shorty, he was innocent. Tell me why they gotta kill. Another funeral? I just guess it was all in God's will. Our brothers and sisters, they working hard, striving to make it. Money coming in, only for someone evil and jealous to stick them up and take it. Selling drugs to our children and telling them that the gang is where they belong. And then there's no father there to show them how to keep a straight head. Shorty, don't let nobody steer you wrong. That's just a little bit of my spoken word, what I do.
That's outstanding. Listen, you can stream him, follow him, Facebook, stream him on all of your streaming sites. Thank you for listening. Remember, victory is on the other side of your fears. Go and follow your dreams. And know this, that you are your passion. We will see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to
Why I fight.
People coming. Human
Cafe.
favor.
The struggle is life. Rich or poor, pain is always close to your door. I fight. I fight because nothing what having comes easily. Quick success is usually deceiving. Taking pain will always lead to glory. Life story. I fight. Dodging obstacles is a part of my journey. Going through the fall of life and climbing the steepest of mountains to reach my goal. I fight as my story unfolds. Rich and well told. I fight for what I adore. For life, might, and future sight. My might rests in my drive, no lie. Full emotion as I devote myself to production. Mental wealth, true to self, I fight. I seek to protect and educate myself from hood monsters and bad wearing to be a black statistics. Their bullets are firing so unrealistic. I'm matter, no wasted brain matter. I exist to succeed, not to bleed. I fight. I fight while you try to rob me of my contributions to my every society. You'll never deny me. You are the fruit from the poisonous tree, while prosecutors set you free. You feel me? My time, my promise to a world divine. I fight to show my strength. I fight to drive, to stay alive, while look at the feet in this deceptive eyes. I fight. I fight. I fight. I fight.